So we have today a great presenter, and his name is Henry Zaldivar. He works protecting organization with state-of-the-art cybersecurity and cloud solutions. Henry has a great, as you can see here in the page, he's a security, again, professional and a U.S. Air Force veteran. He's a technology professional. He has over 35 years of experience in the field. Okay, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. So today we are going to learn from an expert, and that's great. That's only great. That's always great. So the topic he's going to talk about is the 6 key alignments of outsourcing managed security services with an agile transformation. I can't wait to hear him out. I'm pretty sure you cannot wait either. So I give you the floor, Henry. Thank you so much for being with us, and we're excited to have you here.
Yay!
My pleasure. Thank you. Great meeting all of you. I think I may have met some of you. I know Regina I met in person. I can't remember Saba if you were there the last time I was there at Southern Glacier, but all of you that I'm meeting here for the first time, great to meet you. Like I said, I have a lot of experience in IT, going back to the Air Force. Then obviously, now in my career, more recently focused on cybersecurity, with some cloud, obviously, because cloud is where we all live these days, right? Applications are all hosted in the cloud, so we have to secure those too. So that's kind of where I'm at. I can share my screen, Nelu?
Oh yeah, you can. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. And make sure I can do this. Okay, can you guys see it okay?
Yep, we can hear you. Sir, you gotta go to display settings and swap it again on the top.
Let me see. Sorry. Display.
That's on the top. Let's see if I can share.
Yeah, it's not showing me display setting.
Oh, maybe it's on maybe you're sharing the other screen, because we're seeing the notes, your notes. There we go. Try again. There
Let's
you go.
try.
No worries.
No, that's the wrong one, right?
Yeah, probably you were sharing the other monitor.
Is that one better?
Let me see. Oh, we cannot see it yet, sir. Oh, there you go. There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
We got it. Yay.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Awesome. So thank you all again. I'm going to talk a little bit about, the alignment between managed security service. I don't know if you all know what all this is about, but I'll go through that and how we can align that with the Agile transformation process, the journey, and all that you're going to go through when you work with your clients, and see where it would make sense in that process to engage a managed security services provider. Okay. I guess Nelu said a little bit about me, so just a little bit here for you guys to see. My background, 40 years actually in IT. I added a few more years to that to that catalog there, and the last 15 years in cybersecurity. I'm a member of several groups down here in South Florida. I was born in Cuba, came here when I was 2 years old, raised in Miami, went to the Air Force, and somehow people don't understand how did I graduate at Boise State University, but I was stationed in Idaho, so that's where you go when you're in Idaho, right? So I lived there for a while, and some other things here. If you're all sports fans, let's go Heat and Panthers. So if you like the local teams, we're definitely they're playing tonight, so I'll be rooting for them and watching a little bit after we're done here. Now, I put up this slide to talk about Agile methodology at a high level and MSSPs, in case people are going to watch this video later, excuse me, and they don't know what all this means. So what is Agile? You may get many viewers that'll see this. So just wanted to kind of put it out there for those that are watching that may not know what these terms or technologies are. So you can read there, about the Agile methodology, the flexibility, and how it's really geared originally for focused on software development, and onward there about Agile. On the managed security services side, It's just, basically outsourcing all the security services. Okay. And this means monitoring, management of an organization, their whole infrastructure, and also, providing a range of securities to help protect their systems, data, and networks from all the various cybersecurity threats. So this slide was more for those that maybe don't know these terms, so they can watch this and pick up on that later. So here we are. So the overview is why companies outsource managed security. Is a lot of it is to do with the cybersecurity skill shortages. We have a supply and demand issue. I'm sure that runs across many industries, but specifically in cyber, there's a big need for cybersecurity talent, and companies are having a hard time staffing their organization, finding the right talent, and scaling appropriately. So they're turning more and more to managed service providers to provide those levels of services without having the headache of having to manage teams, hire people, train them, then they leave and go through a whole cycle. So this is why companies look at outsourcing managed security. And today we'll explore the 6 key alignments with Agile. So there'll be a focus on core competencies. Number 2, the scalability and flexibility. Number 3, rapid deployment and time to market. Number 4, continuous monitoring and improvement. Number 5, collaboration and integration. And finally, risk mitigation. So getting into the first item here, focus on core competencies. Obviously, in the Agile transformation, large focus on core competencies and all the strategic initiatives. So when companies look to outsource managed security services, they can offload all that responsibility of managing the environment to specialized providers. These are companies that have hired, experts in these fields with certifications, experience to help companies focus on their core business. And obviously, from an Agile perspective, align that with the Agile initiatives. So the key benefit to all of this is what it says here: enabling better resource allocation and ensuring that internal teams can concentrate on delivering the value-added products and services. So aligning with managed service providers and continuing on that core competency allows us to work more efficiently. Number 2 is scalability and flexibility. So under Agile, there's a large emphasis on adaptability and responsiveness to change. And this goes along the whole process as you guys go through the iterations and the sprints. Obviously, there's a lot of change that goes along that process. So a managed security provider can offer that scalability alignment that aligns with not so much the Agile mindset, but also that Agile journey. So as the company is going through this transformation, security needs can change, they can evolve, priorities go up and down. So MSSPs, or managed service providers, can scale their service up or down, and we can accommodate all types of changes and requirements by aligning with your Agile teams. So obviously the key benefit here is flexibility, and ensures that security measures can keep pace with the evolving business and technology landscape. And that's a key part of what we do here in managed security. Number 3, rapid deployment and time to market. Back to Agile, emphasizing delivering software and solutions quickly to the market. And sometimes, when we talk about quickness and how managed security providers work and why they can basically deploy quicker. So imagine if an organization says, I want to, or throughout the Agile journey, it is determined that the company needs to manage their endpoints better. Endpoints meaning all their devices, laptops, mobile phones, servers, firewalls, etc. And they say, okay, we need to do that. How do we approach this? So rapid deployment and time to market come into place because organizations won't have to go out there and buy the software, buy the tools, implement them into their environment, right, into infrastructure. and then get the IT teams to get trained, certified, et cetera. Imagine how long that deployment cycle and time to market would be if they had to go through all of that. So the key benefit is by using a managed service provider, a security service provider, is that we're going to meet all the security requirements and all the compliance obligations, and we're not slowing down the development. We're basically plugging right in to the process and bringing all the skills and experience to the table in a very quick fashion without having to go through all that training and certification that a company would have to go through if they did it themselves. Number 4, on continuous monitoring and improvement. I know this is big. The last time I saw your presentation that Wednesday about promoting continuous improvement and iterative development. All right. So keeping that process going. Managed security providers provide continuous monitoring of all the security threats, along with regular reporting and feedback. So these reports are published on an either on an as needed basis, or it can be scheduled on a weekly, monthly, or however frequent the company needs to get that reporting back. And obviously, sorry.
Can we ask a question? Is that possible?
Sure.
So you're mentioning how these services can kind of merge into an agile transformation, right? So agile teams, let's say they deliver in sprints, right? And they deliver bi-weekly. So they're delivering something. Agile teams deliver in sprints, meaning they're doing some sort of deliverable, let's say every 2 weeks, as an example. What the groups that are supporting it from the security perspective be able to deliver within the time frame of the agile teams? Like the agile teams have a cadence, right? So have you seen the example where that cadence is provided to these service providers, and then they're able to work that in to either the work that they're dependent on the teams, or that the teams have dependency or on them, or they're able to then schedule things in the sprints that the teams are going to need it?
And the answer is yes. And obviously it depends on the complexity of that security component that they're trying to implement. Sometimes onboarding a new security measure, whether it be endpoint detection and response, or whether it be some kind of threat intelligence, etc. So some of those can be deployed rather quickly, especially if that company is already a client. So there's no onboarding that would have to go on. So if they're already a managed security service client of ours, and now we're working collaboratively with the Agile team, then that process is sped up tremendously. All right. If we're talking about, we're going to engage a managed security service provider basically from scratch, then obviously the onboarding cycle, could take much longer than 2 weeks. So with the assumption that the company is already using a managed security service provider, an MSSP, then yes, the spin up of a new security service or monitoring of an element can be done rather quickly. In some cases hours, some cases days, a couple weeks. I think that's reasonable. And again, working with the team, understanding the timeline and the criticality of what that security element needs to be monitored.
Yeah, it's all around the communication with the teams, right? And then maybe depending on the sprint that the work is due, they would come into like a sprint planning session and understand, with the teams when they're going to need it. Julie's got a question as well. Julie?
Yes, what I wanted to know is, as a Scrum Master, do you have to know all about cybersecurity or security services and tech?
No. I mean, I don't think you have to know all about it. But if you're working with a client or working internally, just collaborating with the security team, understanding what it is that your project is requiring, then, like I think Regina mentioned about communication, that's going to be the key thing. So if we're aligned with you as you're going through this process, it'll be a lot easier for us to get that going. But you don't have to know cybersecurity per se, and you don't have to know all the technology. You're managing a project or managing a process, and all you have to do is basically communicate with us, have us engage with that process, so that we're in constant communication. In some cases, I know in my experience, when I work with project managers, I understand what those timelines look like, and if I'm engaged and part of that process and maybe part of some meetings, etc., then I'll have a heads up about what's coming down in that project. And also, if I see something that maybe wasn't in that project, as far as an identified component for security, I would bring it up and say, hey, I think at this stage, maybe we want to talk about this type of cybersecurity solution for this client or for your internal process.
Yeah, so Julie, like, so there are some Scrum Masters that are technical, like project managers, but not necessarily. The role of the Scrum Master and project manager is to be able to understand what is needed for the deliverables they're doing and pulling everybody together and the right key stakeholders, right? So the subject matter experts and then bringing them together to have the right conversation to understand the process flow and when things have to happen. Scrum Masters, again, if they're technical, that's amazing because they can provide support. But if they're not, then they're experts in facilitating and coordinating and bringing all the folks together.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure.
Hey, James just joined us. Welcome, James.
My apologies, I'm late. Sorry.
No worries. Welcome. All right, that was a good question, Henry.
Any other questions?
No, I think we're good.
We're good. All right, great. So on to number 5 here in the process, collaboration and integration. Obviously, on the Agile side, encouraging cross-functional collaboration and integration across teams. I know you guys manage multiple teams, within an organization, top to bottom. So obviously, collaboration is huge. So this goes back to the question that was asked a few minutes ago about collaborating with your managed security services team. Okay, so we become an extension of not only the internal security team, but also an extension of the Agile team. And the more we communicate and the more we are a part of that process, the quicker we can respond and identify where we need to inject certain security elements. But also this goes back to where you don't have to have the expertise in cybersecurity, but we have it. All you have to do is collaborate, bring us into the process, and I think we'll have a much more successful outcome, right? And that goes back to the key benefit here. We're just talking about, working closely with the development teams, providing guidance on secure coding practices, conducting security assessments. So before we roll out something, it's okay, yeah, we want to deploy this at this particular juncture. Well, let's take a step back and let's assess first and see, if that organization or internally, we have all the requirements to roll out this particular security element. So assessing is important, and obviously, we'll do all the supporting of all the activities within the framework. So any questions there?
Actually, Henry, I have a question. And I'm actually kind of glad that I waited till I saw the slide, because like in the back of my mind, I was wondering whether the cybersecurity that you're providing is for incoming attacks or also preventative from within, through your developers and their secure coding practices and things like that.
Well, okay, so first of all, from the perimeter perspective is where most managed security services companies basically live, right? So we're looking at the network holistically, and we're looking at all the endpoints. And without getting into AI, that could be another topic for another meetup. But there is AI technology that is deployed outside the network to do threat intelligence and basically identify threats before they come into your network, right? But now from an internal perspective, you know, it's very difficult to prevent an employee or someone from creating, you know, damage internally. There are ways to train the staff as far as doing security awareness training and phishing simulations to educate the end user community of what threats could potentially come from the inside that originate like from a phishing email, right? Or some type of a ransomware attempt. So they can identify these threats that may have wiggled through the perimeter defenses, and now they're sitting inside in somebody's inbox and they click on something because they say, oh, Walmart gift card, $100, click here. Well, you know, we should all know better. But, you know, when you go through the security awareness training that companies should be looking at to integrate internally, then we can mitigate most of those internal risks.
So are you monitoring? How can I ask that question? You are brought on as a consultant and you're actually looking after the customer's network and servers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like your services are to monitor their hardware, software, or cloud-based servers and not necessarily going through your servers, correct?
Correct. You know,
Okay.
we have infrastructure that we use to deploy certain tools, you know, because as a managed security provider, we partner with the industry's best in class vendors. Okay, I'm sure you probably have heard of Cisco out there and Fortinet and CrowdStrike and many of the, right? So we're global, you know, not to speak about us, but, you know, most managed security service providers have some type of an alliance with those top vendors to provide that service, right? Because it's impossible for any one company to develop every single tool. So, you know, our role is to bring the best in class tools, you know, bring them into our environment, and then we use that to monitor and alert on, you know, the customer's environment. So we're not bringing any data into our network. We're simply from the outside with the elements that we, you know, that we deploy inside of the network to be able to monitor and detect certain threats that could come across the network. From an internal perspective, there are ways to run vulnerability assessments that you can look at what your processes are internally and see if there could be a weakness there or a gap there or areas of improvement from an internal perspective. You know, people coming in with a laptop and plugging an Ethernet cable into the jack on the wall. You know, there are assessments that can be done to mitigate those type of threats. But from the outside looking in, it would be nearly impossible to identify an internal threat like that. Now, once the threat happens, then we can detect it, but to prevent it is the hard part.
Thank you.
Like the threat at Facebook,
I'm sorry?
like the threat at Facebook.
Oh boy, Facebook is a whole different animal.
Okay, all right, don't want to go there.
Yeah, yeah, they have a whole other kind of problems there. All right. And then the last one, 6, is the risk mitigation. And I think a lot of us talk about risk, you know, from the Agile transformation perspective and also from the security side. So we're looking to work with the Agile team to minimize these risks and enhance the resilience of an organization. So as an MSSP, you know, we're bringing specialized knowledge and experience to help identify and mitigate the security risk. So the companies will be leveraging our expertise. They can enhance their management strategies to ensure that all the security considerations are integrated into the Agile development lifecycle. And this goes along with what your processes are and what you've laid out for the client. Hopefully you've been engaging with a cybersecurity consultant along this, if that's part of what the project entails. But eventually, most everything on a network will have to run through some type of cybersecurity or security desk, whether it's a CISO or a security analyst, or in the case of us, it would work in collaboration with those people so that we can get ahead of, potential risk and mitigate those. Okay. And then, just my last comments here, while outsourcing managed security services, it can support an agile transformation. Organizations should ensure that there is effective communication, collaboration, and coordination between the internal teams and externally with us, with the managed service providers, to maintain alignment within the agile principles and objectives. So that's one key element that we want to make sure that we're aligned with. And also, one thing that's very important to note is that when companies outsource managed security services, it doesn't absolve them from their responsibility, right? So they have to take certain measures and have certain individuals. Many companies have, like I said, an internal security team. I know many companies that I talk to all have security people on staff. They just outsource certain parts of their cybersecurity because of the skills and the availability of talent on the market. There's a very high demand and very low supply. So by defining all these clear roles and responsibilities and maintaining that clear communication and oversight, then they can basically rest assured that there is effective collaboration and alignment within the organization's security goals. And that's really all it's about. It's just aligning correctly and staying in communication, and the project will end up just fine, right? And I'm gonna close it here by saying, stay agile, my friends. And this is an internal, not a joke, but somebody, friend and colleague of mine that works with my girlfriend, made a comment about my hat and how I should be the next Dos Equis representative. So he said, make sure he says, stay agile, my friend. So there you go to everybody. All right. And again, thank you very much. This is my contact information. Who I'm with, what I do, and if I can be of any service to anyone here, there's my mobile number, email. You can go to our website and check us out. Telefonica Tech is a global managed service security partner. We recently ranked number 5 in the top 250 in the globe. So if there's anything we can help with, we're here to serve. So thank you, and I turn it back over to Regina Nelu.
All right, sir. First, we have a question from Julie. Go ahead, Julie.
Yes, I was wondering, so you hire Scrum Masters, right?
Do we what? I'm
Henry?
sorry?
You hire Scrum Masters.
I'm not sure I understand. Hire Scrum now.
When you're working with Agile, you're hiring Scrum Masters.
No, we don't hire those people. We have internal teams that are project managers. So I don't know what their skills are. We could hire teams like that here internally for our own projects, but as a cybersecurity services, there's no Scrum Master or anyone like that involved in any deployment or analysis of a cybersecurity solution.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
but if you have the question, go ahead and ask it, Julie. Maybe not from the cybersecurity perspective, but maybe one of us, somebody else can answer it as well.
Well, I'm looking for a job, so I was wondering what the
Oh.
what the parameters and
Oh,
how many
okay.
years of experience you need to have in order to be able to get a job. Sorry.
Well, I guess that I would turn over to Regina and the team as far as Scrum Master opportunities and things of that nature. So
Yeah, no, so feel free to reach out to us, Julie. Maybe if you want us to help you take a look at your resume, give you feedback. You know, the coaches, we do that. We do that, not just on Saturdays, but also on the Wednesdays. Feel free to reach out to us. It depends on the position that's being posted, right? So one of the questions was, do I have to have like the technical skill? And the answer is, it depends, right? Sometimes they ask for Scrum Masters with the technical background of the teams that they're hiring for, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want people with strong project management, right? That can help a team and coordinate and remove impediments, and they're great communicators, right? And they can help take the team forward. If it's a Scrum Master, then Agile certifications are a plus, right? And knowing Agile, because you help the team implement in an Agile way with the Agile techniques, right? Regardless of what that team is implementing. So that is one of the requirements, like regardless of what that team product or service is, if they're an Agile team and they're implementing in an Agile way, then having the certifications, having a little bit of that Agile knowledge, is a plus, is definitely a plus. Some companies will train you. Some companies, they love your background and they love your personality, and they're like, hey, this person has the Agile mindset, and we'll train them. So I've seen that as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'm coming up on taking up the SAFE Advanced Certified Scrum Master class certification. So the SAFE, so it'll be Agile and Scrum Master.
Awesome. And then put everything that you're learning on Saturdays too, and everything that you're learning here, you know, and your activities in the community. That looks really good on your resume too.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank
Oh.
you.
Absolutely. All right, anyone has a question regarding the topic today or not, which is also fine.
I have a
Great.
question. So I used to work in a top law firm where we had external outsourced the security part. When you say that you work like you can work through an agile transformation with someone become like an extension of their agile team, how do you do that? How does that work? Because my experience of the MSSP was we had no idea what they were doing and had just really had to trust them that what they were doing was whatever it was. Even though we had only just created our own SecOps team, we weren't doing all the devices security because we now had the tools.
Right, and when I say work with, it's more like aligning with the agile teams. So following what I've done in the past from a project management perspective, and every project that I've worked on, every statement of work that was created came across my desk. So it's important to work with the team and be not part of the team as an agile member per se. Part of the team is that if that project has cybersecurity or some security elements or components, that we are engaged in that process. Ideally, when you have the kickoff meeting, we'd like to be there as part of the kickoff meeting, and then see what that timeline looks like. We're going to do this in 15 days, this in 30. This allows us to align these cybersecurity elements, whatever they may look like, to those timelines and get ahead of them and say, hey, if we're going to be on target for this rollout in 30 days, well, we got 30 days to prepare. So the more connected we are with that process, the better and easier that it is for us to roll out these solutions and in a much quicker go to market per se, right? But also that this goes back to, that's why I brought this slide back up here, right? About a careful selection of a reputable managed solution service. Because when you're selecting an MSSP, look at their credentials, and I, there's a whole bunch of us out there. So there's, Telefonica Tech, who I work for today. We aren't the only provider, but we are a global provider. We are a public company, and we have a lot of, over 2,500 certifications. So when companies look to partner with a cybersecurity firm, those things are important. And when you inject us into that process of working with the Agile teams, then we just become an extension of not only the Agile team, but also of the organization. So we're working hand in hand to make sure that that project is successful, and that every security element along that timeline is addressed, accurately, so we can get a quick response to get these things rolling during the project.
Yeah, and then James, one of our, even way before Agile, even in traditional project management, right? One of our biggest misses was always not bringing in security at the beginning. Okay, because I remember my projects, like, oh my God, like they would come in at the end, and then there was so much work that had to be done there before we would go live in production. So that is still an issue, whether the security folks are external or internal. Now with Agile, for sure, we want to make sure that the conversation is being had early, that you identify who those external resources are, whether they're a vendor or whether they're internal, and that we put that work into the team's backlog, or identify the dependencies into the team's backlog earlier.
Exactly.
For whatever project we're doing and whatever products we're delivering. But I remember that always being an issue. I remember that. I think it's still happening in some places. It's an afterthought, and it should be talked about at the beginning. So I'm glad, Henry, that I'm hearing that you guys do it in the kickoff, that you're a part of the conversation when you're defining the scope of the deliverables.
Of course, and it could be something as simple, Regina, as we're rolling out this software upgrade, and we need to open up port blah 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 on the firewall. Well, guess what? We're managing the network. You can't open up that port on the spot. So that's why we need to be involved and knowing when that's coming up, so you can open the port, push that software application, and then we can manage that. But if you just say, hey, we need to open the port, the security team again, no, we just can't do it like that. But we have to have proper documentation, because remember, we have to track everything. We have internal processes too. We have change control and all those things that are talked about in PM. Think about that same mentality goes into a cybersecurity rollout. And we have, milestones the same way that you have projects. And we have to make sure that if you need this particular, like I said, this example, you need this port open for this software to be able to do what it needs to do at that particular moment, then this is why working hand in hand with the teams will facilitate that a lot easier than, like you said, bring us in at the end, say, oh, we need it, emergency. Well, the emergencies can take a long time sometimes. And getting approvals too, because we just can't activate it. We have to get approvals to open up a port. So good points.
I hope that answered your question, James.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So I take it you would have a representative maybe in cab teams and in cabs that are when changes are even just through, as you just said, having to open the port for some activity or whatever. So I would take it that one of your team would be sitting on the company's cab, where they do all the changes, where they control all the changes from your perspective. So
right.
that's something that you would want to happen.
Yeah, from our side, every change like that has to be documented. All right, has to be documented and accounted for. So if you need something like in the example of opening a port, then the answer is obviously why. So we're documenting you need the port open for this reason, because you're going to be rolling out a new software update, and it has and the requirement of that update or change is that it has to perform a function with that port open. So in that case, yes, we would have to engage, work with the team, and go through a change control. Hey, we're making a change to facilitate this. So it's documented. All right. So, things happen in the future, there is a record of what change was that happened and when it happened and why. And then
Yeah.
this way there's no finger pointing or any of that stuff, right? We have it all documented and it was part of the process. Everybody approved it, everybody signed off on it. I mean, I use a very simple example as a port, but it could be many, many things.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Thank you very much for that.
I do have a question actually. You've worked with teams that are not agile and you've worked with teams that are probably agile. So my question is, what is the difference? I mean, because I know that you are a person that is called, I mean, a team that is called in, right, to a certain point. How would you describe that experience with agile transformation if you have, if I believe you have, but I'm curious from someone like a third party.
I've only had one experience working with an agile process, and I've had a lot of experience working with just what you would call traditional project manager, very structured, right? But the difference that I've seen from my perspective, from the IT side, it really doesn't matter whether it's an agile or another project management methodology. For us is just making sure that whatever we're working on together is documented and that we are involved in the process. So whether it's an agile expert that says, hey, this is the project, but if we're involved in the kickoff, if we know what the scope looks like from a security, everything else is how they manage it, right? Whatever it is, that project. But if whatever's touching security, whether you're a traditional PM structure or an agile structure or any other methodology, keeping us involved, informed in the process is really what we look for. We wouldn't say, well, it's an agile team versus this team. We honestly probably don't care. What we really care about is that we are involved in the process, communicating, and ahead of whatever that upcoming change will happen. But comparing the two, a lot more rigid on the traditional PM side, with a lot more flexibility that I saw in the one project when I was working on a few years ago with an agile consultant.
Thank you. Anyone else ask a question? Nope. All right.
This was very informative, Henry. I really thank you for showing up and doing this.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I didn't want to touch too much on AI today, but if in the future you want to know about how what AI's role is in cybersecurity.
Oh yeah.
I can do it on a Saturday morning or I can do it here, but this is something that's really hot. I did a video just recently on that. So it's a very hot thing. As we all know, AI is all over the map, both good, bad, or indifferent. It's here. So we need to figure out how to best use it and not ruin humanity.
Yeah, sign up for maybe, what is it? Maybe like in August or September, come back on a Wednesday
Okay.
and then do that.
You know how to reach me, Regina. Yes, I'm all in, and I love this group, and will love to come back at a later time and maybe focus on that. It'll give me a couple of months to get more ammunition on that topic. So
We'd love to have you back.